Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is C. Pranjal Agrawal. I welcome you all to the CG Live meet. CG Legal is a premier indirect tax firm dealing specializes into indirect taxes, litigation, advisory, and compliances. As we know that CG Legal is conducting the monthly webinar series, and these monthly webinar series are aimed to appraise our clients, professional colleagues, and entire subscribers groups about the latest development in the field of goods and services tax, which will have huge implication on the industry. So today's webinars aims to analyze the recommendations of the 45th GST Council meeting held on 17th of September 2021, and we will also be discussing the various compliance actionables for the financial year 2021, which should be completed by September 2021. So the deliberation will be taken by CA Chitresh Gupta and followed by CA Dheeraj Batra. CA Chitresh Gupta is a senior partner at CGA Legal and having vast experience and knowledge into indirect taxation. CA Dheeraj Batra is a qualified chartered accountant who has a vast experience in GST audits and review of various multi-location corporates. So the deliberation will be followed by the question answer session. The question answer will be jointly taken by CA Chitresh Gupta and CA Dheeraj Batra. If anyone wishes to ask a question in between of the session, then they may ask the question in the chat box. The same will be taken up at the end of the session. Now I invite CA Chitresh Gupta to start his deliberation.
Thank you, Pranjal, and good afternoon, all of you. Let me share my screen. I welcome you all in CGA Legal GST webinar September 2021. So we'll be, as Pranjal has already said, we'll be discussing the analysis or recommendation of 45th GST Council meeting, which is recently held on 17th of September. And after that, my team member Dheeraj Batra will be discussing the major compliance actionable for September 2021. So let's start. You are requested to keep yourself on mute so that there should not be disturbance in between the presentation. This is a brief flow of the discussion which we'll be discussing. First, I'll be taking the analysis of recommendation of 45th GST Council meeting. And in that, we'll be discussing the changes in detail. And we'll be discussing the changes relating to GST law and procedure, then the rate-related changes and clarification, then the COVID relief measures which are being offered in 45th GST Council meeting. And at the end, we'll be taking the major compliance actionable for September 2021, which is very important because September is going on and there are many things which needs to be done in the month of September as far as GST is concerned. Now, let us first discuss the recommendation relating to GST law and procedure along with streamlining compliances. The first is relaxation in the requirement of filing form GST ITC 04. So first of all, let us understand ITC 04. IT 04 is a return which is required to be filed by a principal for sending the goods to the job worker for job work. तो जब भी प्रिंसिपल जो है जॉब वर्कर को जो है गुड्स भेजता है फॉर जॉब वर्क द प्रिंसिपल इज रिक्वायर्ड टू फाइल दिस फॉर्म ITC 04 on quarterly basis as of now. Now the GST Council has proposed certain relaxation in this form, and they said if the aggregate turnover of the principal in the preceding financial year is more than 5 crore, then ITC 04 shall be filed six monthly. And if the aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is less than 5 crore, in that case, the form ITC 04 shall be filed annually. So basically what they have done, they have changed the frequency of filing form ITC 04. So earlier it was filed quarterly. Now they have categorized and divided this into two parts. अगर आपकी aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore, then 6 monthly. If it is less than 5 crore, then it has to be filed annually. तो सर यहाँ पर दो चीजें ध्यान रखने वाली हैं. फर्स्ट इज it uses the word aggregate turnover. So we have to see the aggregate turnover. Aggregate turnover is a turnover of a person having same PAN and it is computed on all India basis. तो हमें जितने भी हमारे रजिस्ट्रेशन है सबकी टर्नओवर ऐड करके देखनी है फॉर कंप्यूटिंग दिस लिमिट ऑफ 5 करोड़. तो अब अगर हम प्रेस रिलीज की बात करें, प्रेस रिलीज में इन्होंने वर्ड यूज करा है aggregate turnover in preceding financial year. So they have not said the aggregate turnover in the current financial year or financial year. So there may be some clarification which is needed in case of a newly registered person. Suppose if a person get itself registered in the current financial year and that person does not have any aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year, in that case what will be the frequency for filing ITC 04? So I think these type of issues will need to be clarified by the CBIC while carrying out the actual amendment in the law. This second proposal is very important as far as companies are concerned, and it relates to transfer of unutilized cash ledger balance. अभी क्या है कि सपोज मेरे दो रजिस्ट्रेशन है, वन रजिस्ट्रेशन इज इन यूपी एंड सेकेंड रजिस्ट्रेशन से इन दिल्ली. तो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, अगर मेरा यूपी के कैश लेजर में कोई बैलेंस अगर रखा हुआ है, पड़ा हुआ है, तो मैं उस कैश लेजर बैलेंस को अपने दिल्ली रजिस्ट्रेशन में ट्रांसफर नहीं करता, ऑल्दो इट बोथ द यूनिट्स रिलेट टू द सेम कंपनी. तो क्या है, अगर जो है यूपी का बैलेंस जो कि ट्रांसफर नहीं हो सकता है, तो उसको दिल्ली में अलग से कैश लेजर में पैसा जमा कराना पड़ता है. So it is a very welcome change which has been proposed, and they say the unutilized balance is CGST and IGST. Cash ledger may be allowed to be transferred between distinct persons. Distinct person means entities having same PAN but registered in different states. Meaning thereby, अगर आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन यूपी में भी है और आपका एक रजिस्ट्रेशन दिल्ली में भी है, तो अगर यूपी के कैश लेजर में आपका कोई बैलेंस है, then that balance can be transferred in the Delhi registration. So specific procedure and how it will be transferred and what form will be used. So the CBIC needs to come with a procedure and the methodology for its transfer. But it is a very welcome change. But at the same time, it can be noted that this proposal is only applicable to unutilized cash ledger balance. It is not applicable to बैलेंस विच इज देयर इन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रेडिट लेजर. तो सपोज आपके यूपी के रजिस्ट्रेशन में कोई इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रेडिट लेजर में कोई बैलेंस है एंड यू वांट टू ट्रांसफर द बैलेंस इन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रेडिट लेजर टू योर दिल्ली रजिस्ट्रेशन, तो स्टिल दिस बैलेंस कैन नॉट बी ट्रांसफर्ड बिकॉज द प्रपोज्ड चेंज इज ओनली विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कैश लेजर बैलेंस एंड नॉट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रेडिट लेजर. Now, another very important and welcome change is interest will be levied on ITC availed and availed but not utilized. So basically what I am trying to say here, earlier what was happening under GST, we were saying and department is also contesting that if somebody has availed the ITC but he has not utilized that ITC, even then that person was liable to pay interest at the rate of 24% as per section 50 subsection 3. But there was always a point from the industry point of view that they have only availed the ITC but they have not utilized it. When they have not utilized it, so there is no loss to the government exchequer. So in that case, interest should not be levied. So now the government and the GST Council has come out with a very welcome proposal, and they are proposing to amend section 50 subsection 3, and they are saying eligible ITC which is availed and utilized, interest should be levied on that only. But if you have availed the ITC and you have not utilized that ITC, in that case no interest should be payable on that amount. तो अभी क्या होता था, वी वर एडवाइजिंग आवर क्लाइंट्स कि आपने अगर because there is also a time limit for availment of ITC which is generally the September of the following financial year. Due date of filing return for the month of September of the following financial year. तो हम अपने क्लाइंट्स को एडवाइस करते थे कि भाई अगर आपको लगता है कि कोई आईटीसी आपको नहीं मिलेगा तो भी आप उसको क्लेम करके आप रिवर्स कर दो, बिकॉज अगर आप क्लेम नहीं करेंगे तो देर इज ए टाइम लिमिट फॉर अवेलमेंट ऑफ आईटीसी, बट इन केस ऑफ reclaim ऑफ आईटीसी देर इज नो time limit. And further it is in line with the section 50 subsection 3, reason being you have availed and you have reversed it, so there is no loss to the government. So in that case the interest should not be levied under section 50 subsection 3. Now the government itself has proposed the amendment, and that too with effect from 1st July 2017, that is retrospectively from the day when the GST was implemented, to bring this amendment, and so that if you have availed the ITC and not utilized, in that case you are not liable to pay any interest. Further, they have also proposed to reduce the rate of 24% to 18%. तो अगर जो पहले एक्सेस और अनड्यू क्लेम ऑफ आईटीसी पे जो इंटरेस्ट लगता था वो 24% था, now they are also proposing to reduce this rate to 18%. Now, if we go through in detail of this amendment, proposed amendment, so there is one issue which is coming is what will happen to the interest already paid at the rate of 24% on excess availment earlier. Suppose आपने कोई excess availment करी थी, आपके ऑडिटर ने पकड़ा या डिपार्टमेंट ने पकड़ा और उन्होंने कहा जी आपको जो है इंटरेस्ट देना पड़ेगा अंडर सेक्शन 50 सबसेक्शन 3, तो उसमें जो इंटरेस्ट रेट प्रिस्क्राइब था दैट वाज 24%, तो उन्होंने आपसे 24% पे इंटरेस्ट ले लिया. नाउ दिस सेक्शन इज गोइंग टू बी अमेंडेड विद इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 1st जुलाई 2017. तो नाउ जो आपने 6% का इंटरेस्ट एक्सेस दिया है, तो व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन? तो वंस द नोटिफिकेशन एंड द अमेंडमेंट कम आउट, वी नीड टू explore the possibility of refund of this excess interest paid to the government. The second thing which needs to be kept in mind is that there is a rule 88A which prescribes the order of utilization of ITC. So this rule says the ITC of IGST should be utilized first, then other ITC can be utilized. So when we say कि invisible ITC claimed and utilized, so it means if I have claimed the ITC but I have not utilized, so we need to accordingly amend Rule 88A also, because order of utilization has been prescribed in that rule. And further the corresponding changes which are required for the implementation of this amendment is also required to be made on the GST portal. Now another is refund of tax paid under wrong head. तो अभी एक मैंने सेक्शन 77 है of the CGST Act and section 19 of the IGST Act which allow refund of tax when same has been paid by the taxpayer under wrong head, meaning thereby आपको IGST पे करना था, आपने CGST पे कर दिया, तो यू हैव पेड द टैक्स अंडर रॉन्ग हेड, या आपको CGST पे करना था, आपने गलती से IGST पे कर दिया. तो इस केस में जो मेरा सेक्शन 77 है वो कहता है कि अगर जो आपने टैक्स गलत हेड में पे करा है, यू हैव टू क्लेम द रिफंड ऑफ टैक्स पेड रॉन्गली एंड यू हैव टू अगेन पे द टैक्स अंडर द करेक्ट हेड. बट if you go into section 77, there is no linkage which has been given in section 77 with section 54. तो section 54 है वो मेरा डील करता है with refund, and as per section 54 the taxpayer shall file the refund application within 2 years from the payment of tax. But if we read these two sections, there is no linkage in these two sections, so there is a confusion whether the provisions which are contained in section 54 will be applicable in case of section 77 or not, because section 77 also uses the word the tax wrongly paid will be refunded to the taxpayer as may be prescribed. Prescribed means as prescribed under the CGST rules. So the government has become aware of this anomaly, and they have proposed to amend the CGST rules. And they said to remove the ambiguity regarding procedure for filing refund application, they are going to amend the CGST rules, meaning thereby 54 section इस पे apply नहीं होगा. They will be separately prescribing the procedure for the purpose of section 77, and similarly the time limit will be separately prescribed for the purpose of section 77. Now, another very important clarification is with regard to export of services between distinct persons. तो सर अगर मैं देखूं सेक्शन 2 सबसेक्शन 6 जो मेरा एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विसेज डिफाइन करता है, वो कहता है सर्विसेज डू नॉट क्वालिफाई एज एक्सपोर्ट if the supplier and recipient are merely establishment of distinct persons. Now it is a matter of debate. What is the meaning of merely establishment of distinct persons? अब उसके लिए जो this term is also defined under the IGST Act, and explanation 1 to section 8 of the IGST Act says where a person has an establishment in India and any other establishment outside India, then such establishment shall be treated as establishment of distinct persons. Meaning there पे कोई person है, उसकी establishment एक इंडिया में है और उस person की एक establishment बाहर है, suppose USA में, then these establishment will be treated as establishment of distinct persons. Now the explanation 2 to section 8 of the IGST says a person carrying on business through a branch or an agency or representation office in any territory shall be regarded as having an establishment in that territory. मतलब कि अगर आपकी कोई ब्रांच है, एजेंसी है या रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफिस है in any territory, then it will be treated as having establishment in that territory. Now the confusion which was there is that suppose there is a holding company in USA and that holding company is having a subsidiary company in India. So whether this holding and subsidiary company will be treated as merely establishment or distinct persons. Suppose this subsidiary company is supplying some services to the USA holding company. So in that case, whether the condition which is there in case of export of services, these services do not qualify as export if supplier and recipient are merely establishment or distinct person, will be triggered or not. So in many cases there was confusion and the department is treating it as not export, these type of transaction. Reason being they are saying the holding and subsidiary companies are merely establishment or distinct person, so it will not be covered under the definition of export of services. So that's why no refund should be eligible for export of services. Now the CBIC has come out with a clarification and they have issued circular number 161 dated 20th September 2021 to clarify the position, and they said the person incorporated in India under the Companies Act, meaning thereby the Indian subsidiary, and the person incorporated under the laws of any other country, that is the foreign holding company which is located in USA, are to be treated as separate legal entities. Meaning thereby अगर जो हमने अभी एग्जांपल लिया है इस केस में the holding company in USA and the subsidiary company in India will be treated as separate legal entities and will not be hit by the meaning of merely establishment or distinct persons. तो अगर जो इंडियन सब्सिडरी कंपनी है अगर फॉरेन होल्डिंग कंपनी जो यूएसए में सिचुएटेड है उसको कुछ सर्विसेज दे रही है, तो इन दैट केस दैट कैन बी कंसिडर्ड एज एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस. तो इट इज आल्सो वेरी वेलकम क्लैरिफिकेशन बाय द सीबीआईसी. Now another clarification is with regard to refund of unutilized ITC in case of export of goods liable to export duty. सर मेरे सेक्शन 54 सबसेक्शन 3 है जो कहता है रिफंड ऑफ अनयूटिलाइज्ड इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट शैल नॉट बी अलाउड इन केस वेयर द गुड्स एक्सपोर्टेड आउट ऑफ इंडिया आर सब्जेक्टेड टू एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी. मीनिंग देयर बाय टैक्सपेयर को अनयूटिलाइज्ड इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट का रिफंड अलाउ नहीं होगा अगर उसने जो गुड्स बाहर भेजे हैं दोज गुड्स आर सब्जेक्टेड टू एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी. नाउ द entire issue is what is the meaning of subjected to export duty? क्या अगर किसी केस में nil rate of duty prescribed है under the customs law, तो whether it will be considered as subjected to export duty, या अगर कोई goods fully exempted है under the customs law, under the custom tariff, तो क्या हम उसे कहेंगे it is subjected to export duty? तो जो डिपार्टमेंट था, डिपार्टमेंट वाज टेकिंग द वेरी नैरो व्यू एंड दे वर सेइंग कि अगर गुड जो है नील रेटेड है तो देन आल्सो इट इज सब्जेक्टेड टू एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी, या फुली एग्जम्प्टेड है देन आल्सो इट इज सब्जेक्टेड टू एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी, so in that case refund shall not be allowed. So to remove that anomaly and to give the advantage to the taxpayer, the CBIC has come out with a circular number 160 dated 20th September 2021, and they have clarified that only goods which are actually subjected to export duty, on which some export duty has to be paid at the time of export, will be covered under the restriction imposed. Meaning thereby अगर आपने एक्चुअल में एक्सपोर्ट ड्यूटी पे करी है तभी वो गुड्स जो है हिट होंगे इस लिमिटेशन से कि आपको रिफंड नहीं मिलेगा। लेकिन अगर वो नील रेटेड थे या फुली एग्जम्प्टेड थे या वो कस्टम शेड्यूल में कवर ही नहीं थे, तो इन दैट केस the taxpayer will be eligible to get the refund of unutilized input tax related. Now, the another clarification which the GST Council has proposed and the CBIC has issued the circular is with regard to intermediary services. The CBIC has issued circular number 159 dated 20th September 2021 to clarify the scope of intermediary services. So friends, if we see, there is a lot of debate and litigation, what is the meaning of intermediary services and what type of services will be covered under intermediary services. If you remember, earlier the government has issued one circular with respect to IT and ITES companies, wherein they have tried to clarify the scope of intermediary services, but due to controversy and with regard to that circular was withdrawn by the government wide ab initio, and that circular is not valid as on date. So again, the department was trying, as various services are being provided by Indian companies to foreign companies, the department always try to provide the services provided by Indian companies as intermediary services, so that the place of supply should be India and that should be taxable in India. And the companies always try to contend that the services which they are providing are not intermediary services and it is outside the scope of intermediary services, so it should be treated as export of services. So it is a very big issue which is being debated again and again. So now they have again issued a circular to provide some clarity in this regard, and as per the circular they say the definition of intermediary under IGST Act and under the service tax law is broadly same, except addition of supply of securities in the definition of intermediary in GST law. Meaning thereby जो definition हमारी service tax law में, जो कि ये concept हमारा service tax law से borrowed है, तो they are saying कि जो definition हमारी दी हुई थी service tax law में या IGST Act में, ये दोनों ही broadly definition same है, except they have added supply of security in the definition of intermediary. Further in the circular, they have given 5 requirements for services to be classified as intermediary services. First, they said minimum of 3 parties. So intermediary के case में there has to be 3 parties. One is supplier, second is recipient, third is agent. Meaning thereby जो supplier और recipient है, they are doing some transaction, and agent is a person who is facilitating or assisting that transaction. So there has to be 3 parties in intermediary services. The second is 2 distinct supplies, meaning thereby there has to be one main supply and second the ancillary supply. So main supply कौन सी होगी? The main supply should be between the supplier and recipient. The supplier is making some supply and it is being received by recipient. And the ancillary supply will be the supply of facilitation of that supply of goods or supply of services, which is being provided by the agent. The intermediary service provider should have the character of an agent, broker or any other similar person. So it is also very important to intermediary service provide कर रहा है, that person should have the character of agent, broker, or any other person. So he cannot provide the services on his own account. So fourth point मेरा यही है. And it does not include a person who supplies such goods or services or both or securities on his own account. अगर वो security ये सारी चीजें सप्लाई अपने ऑन अकाउंट में कर रहा है तो डेफिनेटली ही इज नॉट एक्टिंग एज एन इंटरमीडियरी. तो अगर वो ऑन अकाउंट कर रहा है तो उन्होंने फिर मेन सप्लाई जो है प्रोवाइड कर दी ना. जब उन्होंने मेन सप्लाई प्रोवाइड कर दी तो ही इज आउट फ्रॉम द डेफिनेशन ऑफ इंटरमीडियरी. तो हिज द सप्लाई ऑफ इंटरमीडियरी शुड बी ancillary supply and it cannot be main supply. The fifth point is subcontracting for a service is not an intermediary service. अगर किसी को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला और उसने वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किसी को सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर दिया तो in that case also it is not an intermediary service. So these are the 5 primary requirements which are being discussed in the circular, which runs into 5 pages, and the circular also contains 4 to 5 illustrations to clarify the scope of intermediary services. So you can just go through the same, and if there is any issue we can discuss that further. Another very important clarification is with regard to debit notes. So to give you the background, there is one amendment which is made by Finance Act 2020 and which had been made applicable from 1st January 2021. That the date of debit note and not the date of underlying invoice would be considered for the purpose of determining period or limitation for claiming ITC. पहले क्या था कि जो date of underlying invoice को हम देखते थे for claiming ITC in case of debit note. So with effect from 1st January 2021, the debit note and date of debit note and date of underlying invoice has been delinked, and now you can claim the ITC from the date of debit note. So it was the amendment which was made by Finance Act 2020. But there was some transition issues which were there, and to clarify those transition issues, the CBSE has issued Circular 160 dated 20th September 2021, wherein they have specified basically 3 scenarios. First is after the amendment. अगर आपने डेबिट नोट इशू करा है आफ्टर द अमेंडमेंट, दैट इज 1st January 2021, इन केस ऑफ इशुएंस ऑफ डेबिट नोट, द डेट ऑफ इशुएंस ऑफ डेबिट नोट एंड नॉट द डेट ऑफ अंडरलाइंग इनवॉइस शैल डिटरमाइन द रिलेवेंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर फॉर द प्रपोज्ड सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 4, मतलब क्लेमिंग आईटीसी. तो ये तो क्लियर है कि भाई अगर आपने डेबिट नोट ही 1st जनवरी के बाद इशू करा है तो डेफिनेटली डेबिट नोट की डेट से ही गवर्न होना चाहिए. आई डोंट थिंक देयर इज एनी कंफ्यूजन इन दिस. The second case is in case of availment of ITC on or after 1st January 2021, the eligibility for availment of ITC will be governed by amended provision, मतलब date of debit note, and it does not matter whether the debit note was issued prior to or after. Basically here they are not going by the date of debit note, they are going by the date of availment of ITC. तो इसमें ये कह रहे हैं अगर आपने ITC जो क्लेम करा है वो आपने 1st जनवरी 2021 के बाद करा है तो उस केस में जो अमेंडेड प्रोविजन है, डेट अमेंडेड प्रोविजन विल अप्लाई इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द डेट ऑफ डेबिट नोट एंड डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस. द थर्ड केस इज इन केस ऑफ अवेलमेंट ऑफ ITC प्रायर टू 1/1/21. तो अगर आपने आईटीसी पहले ही क्लेम कर लिया था इस प्रोविजन अमेंडेड प्रोविजन के नोटिफाई करने से पहले तो डेफिनेटली आपको पुराने ही प्रोविजन लगेगा. तो वो इन्होंने यहाँ क्लेरिफाई भी करा है इन केस ऑफ अवेलमेंट ऑफ आईटीसी प्रायर टू 1/1/2021 the eligibility for availment of ITC will be governed by old provision and will not be governed by new provision. Now let us take a small example. तो पहला मैं जो केस ले रहा हूँ उसमें 15 जुलाई 2019 को मेरी डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस है एंड डेट ऑफ डेबिट नोट है 10th May 2020. तो ये दोनों जो है मेरे इस प्रोविजन के आने से पहले की हैं विच इज 1st January 2021. और अगर सपोज इस केस में मेरा डेट ऑफ टेकिंग आईटीसी इज 20th June 2021 तो डेफिनेटली द लिमिटेशन विल बी September 2020. और अगर मैं इसमें कहूं कि मेरे डेट ऑफ टेकिंग आईटीसी इज 28 January 2021 which is after the amendment, so in that case the time limit for claiming ITC will be September 2021. In the second scenario, my date of invoice is 15 July 2019 and the date of debit note is 10th November 2020, which is both the dates prior to the amendment, and the ITC is taken on 20th November 2020. So definitely it will be governed by the old provision, and the maximum time limit to claim the ITC will be September. I think there is some mistake in this. In case of हाँ, तो डेफिनेटली और प्रोविजन से जाएगा तो इसकी सितंबर 2020 होगी, और अगर इसमें आईटीसी आपने बाद में लिया है 28 जनवरी 2021 में, तो इसकी जो है सितंबर 2021 होगी। थर्ड सिनेरियो इज 16 मार्च 2021 आपकी डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस है, विच इज आफ्टर द अमेंडमेंट, एंड 7 जुलाई 2021 is the date of debit note, which is again after amendment, and the date of taking ITC is 10 July 2021. So in this case, the maximum time limit is September 2022. And if the ITC is taken on 23rd July 2021, then also the September 2022 will be the last date. The another change, proposed change is no need of physical invoice when e-invoice is generated. तो इन्होंने एक सर्कुलर इशू करा है, सर्कुलर नंबर 160 डेटेड 20 September 2021, to clarify that there is no need to carry the physical copy of tax invoice in case of e-invoice and production of quick response code having an embedded invoice reference number electronically for verification by proper officer will suffice. मीनिंग देर पे अभी क्या हो रहा था कि देर वॉज ए कंफ्यूजन कि जो लोग ई इनवॉइसिंग के प्रोविजन में कवर्ड है, तो क्या उनको फिजिकल कॉपी ऑफ ई इनवॉइस कैरी करना जरूरी है या नहीं है, या अगर वो जो है सॉफ्ट कॉपी ऑफ इनवॉइस कैरी करते हैं या क्विक रिस्पॉन्स कोड को कैरी करते हैं, तो डेट विल बी सफिशिएंट फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ कंप्लायंस। तो अब इन्होंने यहाँ पर क्लेरिफाई कर दिया है कि इन केस ऑफ टैक्स पेयर जिसपे ई इनवॉइस के प्रोविजन एप्लीकेबल है, तो अगर वो उनको जो है हार्ड कॉपी ऑफ इनवॉइस कैरी करने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो क्विक रिस्पॉन्स कोड को कैरी कर सकते हैं हैविंग एन एम्बेडेड इनवॉइस रेफरेंस नंबर, एंड दैट कैन बी शोन टू द प्रॉपर ऑफिसर। तो यहाँ पर एक क्वेश्चन और आता है, ठीक है हमें फिजिकल कॉपी ऑफ इनवॉइस तो कैरी नहीं करनी है, तो व्हाट अबाउट द ई वे बिल? तो क्या मुझे ई वे बिल जो है हार्ड कॉपी में कैरी करना पड़ेगा? नो, आपको ई वे बिल भी हार्ड कॉपी में कैरी करने की जरूरत नहीं है, जो कि ये मेरा लिखा हुआ है इन रूल 138A, जिसमें उन्होंने कहा है द पर्सन इन चार्ज ऑफ ए कन्वेंस शेल कैरी ए कॉपी ऑफ ई वे बिल इन फिजिकल फॉर्म, या तो फिजिकल ले जाए, और द ई वे बिल नंबर इन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म, या वो ई वे बिल नंबर ले जाए, और मैप टू RFID embedded onto the conveyance in such manner as may notified by the commissioner. तो अगर ये जब से ये अमेंडमेंट आती है, तो इन दैट केस the taxpayer who are required to generate the e-invoice would not be required to carry the physical copy of invoice as well as physical copies of e-way bill. Now there are certain other compliance related relaxations. First is mandatory Aadhaar authentication. Aadhaar authentication of registration to be made mandatory for following: being eligible for filing refund claim. अगर आपको refund claim फाइल करना है तो आपको आधार authentication कराना पड़ेगा. Then for application for revocation or cancellation of registration. अगर आपको अपना cancellation revoke कराना है, then also you have to undergo for Aadhaar authentication. Another is auto population of late fee in filing GSTR1. Late fee for delayed filing of GSTR1 to be auto populated and collected in the next open return in GSTR3B. Meaning thereby अगर आपने अगस्त की GSTR1 लेट फाइल करी है, तो उसके बाद जो भी आपकी 3B जाएगी उसमें जो GSTR1 जितनी लेट फाइल जितने दिन लेट है उसकी जो लेट फीस है दैट विल बी ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड. The third is dispersal of refund in bank account. The refund to be dispersed in bank account which is linked with the same PAN on which registration has been obtained under GST. जिस PAN पे आपने registration लिया है उसी बैंक अकाउंट में जो उससे लिंक्ड है उसी बैंक अकाउंट में आपका रिफंड जाएगा. The fourth is what if GSTR 3B is not filed for a period for a preceding tax period. अगर आपने preceding tax period की GSTR 3B फाइल नहीं करी तो क्या होगा. इसमें इन्होंने कहा है the registered person shall not be allowed to furnish GSTR 1 for the next tax period and such amendment is proposed from 1st January 2022. मीनिंग thereby अगर आपने लास्ट मंथ की 3B फाइल नहीं करी तो आप नेक्स्ट मंथ की GSTR 1 फाइल नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो सर यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल इन द कंप्लायंस. तो ये ऑटोमेटिक इनबिल्ट चेक्स जो है सिस्टम में लगाए जा रहे हैं एंड यू हैव टू follow the procedure, otherwise you will be in trouble. Now the fifth and very important compliance is once the proposed clause AA of section 16 subsection 2 of the CGST Act is notified, they will be amending the rule 36 sub rule 4. तो सर पहली तो चीज ये सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 क्लॉज AA है क्या. तो सर जो मेरा CGST एक्ट है उसमें जो ITC क्लेम करने की मुझे कुछ कंडीशन दी गई है. जैसे कि था कि the recipient should have received the goods or services. Second is he should be in possession of tax paying document. The third is the supplier should have paid the taxes to the government. The fourth was the return has been filed by the supplier. And now if you remember the fifth condition, which is clause AA, was added in the conditions and it was that these invoices and debit notes should have been uploaded by the supplier and should be communicated to the recipient in the manner prescribed. तो अब ये कह रहे हैं कि जब ये क्लॉज ये नोटिफाई करेंगे तो ये जो रूल 36 सब रूल 4 है उसको भी ये चेंज करेंगे और उसमें क्या करेंगे. They will be restricting the availment of ITC in respect of invoices and debit note to the extent the details of such invoices and debit note are furnished by supplier in GSTR 1 and invoice furnishing facility and are communicated to registered person in GSTR 2B. मीनिंग देर पे जैसे कि आप लोगों को पता ही है जो लोग 36 सब रूल 4 का कंप्लायंस कर रहे हैं कि अभी जो ITC आपका पेयर हो रहा है 2A में उसका 5% से ही ज्यादा आप क्लेम कर सकते हैं और उससे ज्यादा क्लेम नहीं कर सकते. तो बेसिकली जब ये सेक्शन नोटिफाई होगा तो जो आपको 5% के रिलैक्सेशन है वो 5% के रिलैक्सेशन भी आपकी खत्म हो जाएगी. सेकंड, जो भी ITC आपका अपेयर हो रहा है इन GSTR 2B, यू आर एलिजिबल फॉर क्लेमिंग ओनली दैट ITC. मीनिंग देयर बाय अभी क्या है कि देयर इज सम कंफ्यूजन बिटवीन द टैक्स पेयर्स कि मैं जो ITC लूं वो GSTR 2B के हिसाब से लूं या GSTR 2A के हिसाब से लूं. तो some people are taking the ITC as per GSTR 2A, some people are taking the ITC as per GSTR 2B because there is a lack of clarity. But once this amendment has been notified, then you have to forget the GSTR 2A and you have to claim the ITC as per GSTR 2B only. Now let us come to the proposed changes in GST rate on services, changes and clarification. तो GST काउंसिल ने काफी सारे चेंजेस बताए हैं इन रेट ऑफ सर्विसेज आल्सो and these changes are applicable from 1st October 2021 unless otherwise stated. So this is the table. I'll just read out some of the points because it is very lengthy. First is validity of GST assumption on transport of goods by vessel and air from India to outside India is extended up to 30th September 2022. तो ये जो है हर साल जो है ये एक साल बढ़ा देते हैं. ये अभी तक जो ये assumption थी ये अभी भी है and this assumption was available up to 30th September 2021. Now it has been extended for one more year. Then services by way of grant of national permit to goods carriages on payment of fee. तो ये जो सर्विस थी इस पे पहले 18% का GST लगता था and now they are proposing nil. Then skill training for which government bears 75% or more of the expenditure. So they are exempting this from 18% to nil. Earlier, if it is funded by the government fully, then only this assumption was available. Then services related to AFC Women's Asia Cup 2022, it has been brought to nil rate. Then licensing services oblique the right to broadcast and show original films, sound recording, radio and television programs. So in this case, the rate has been enhanced from 12% to 18%. Then printing and reproduction of services or recorded media where content is supplied by the publisher, the rate has been increased from 12% to 18%. Then withdrawal of assumption on leasing of rolling stock by IRFC to Indian Railways. This assumption has been withdrawn. Now let us come to the clarification in relation to GST rate on services. First is coaching services to students provided by coaching institutions and NGOs under central sector scheme of scholarship for students with disabilities exempted from GST. The second is services by cloud kitchens or central kitchens are covered under restaurant service and attract 5% GST without ITC. तो उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर जैसे आजकल एक नया कॉन्सेप्ट आया है क्लाउड किचन का, क्या होता है क्लाउड किचन? The cloud kitchen is a concept of delivery only restaurant with no physical space, no dining space or takeaway counter. Under this, customer can place their order online through the online food aggregator apps or restaurant app. So as per the proposal, what they are saying, तो अगर आपकी कोई cloud kitchen है, central kitchen है, तो that will be treated as restaurant service and 5% GST will be levied without ITC. Then renting of motor vehicle. The renting of vehicle by state transport undertaking and local authorities is covered by expression giving on a hire for the purpose of GST exemption. So this is the clarification only. Then another important change is with respect to ice cream parlor. They say ice cream parlor sells already manufactured ice cream. So such supply of ice cream by parlors would attract GST at the rate of 18%. तो सर ये कह रहे हैं कि पार्लर जो है ऑलरेडी मैन्युफैक्चर्ड आइसक्रीम बेचते हैं, इसलिए जो है आइसक्रीम पे रेट जो है 18% लगना चाहिए, ना कि 5% जो रेस्टोरेंट सर्विस पे लगता है. तो सर अगर आप देखें नाउ आइसक्रीम पार्लर जैसे बास्किन रॉबिन्स will be paying will have to pay the GST at the rate of 18%, and many such parlors are currently paying GST at 5%, treating their services as restaurant services. However, the clarification may lead to confusion as many such parlors also prepare items like faluda, milkshake with ice cream, etc. to offer to its customer at their premises, and with that they may qualify as restaurant service providers. Now it is going to be a very challenging issue because it is not that they are only selling the ready-made ice cream. In some cases they also make some different flavors of ice cream like faluda, milkshake with ice cream, etc. So in that case, whether they can be considered a restaurant service or not, that is again going to be a issue of litigation. Then overloading charges at toll plaza are exempted from GST as such charges are akin to toll tax only. Then the services by way of grant of mineral exploration and mining rights attracted GST at the rate of 18% with effect from 1st July 2017. Again, it is also retrospective 18%. Then admission to amusement park having rights attract GST at the rate of 18%. The GST rate of 28% applies only to admission to such facilities that have casino. अगर casino है तो 28 लगेगा और अगर casino नहीं है तो 18% लगेगा. Then alcoholic liquor for human consumption is not food and food product for the purpose of entry prescribing 5% GST rate on job work services in relation to food and food product. तो मीनिंग देयर बाय अगर कोई अल्कोहलिक लिकर फॉर होम कंजम्पशन पे कोई जॉब वर्क हो रहा है तो डेफिनेटली दैट इज नॉट कवर्ड इन द डेफिनेशन ऑफ फूड. and that will not attract GST at the rate of 5%. Then levy of GST on e-commerce operators. E-commerce operator being made liable to pay tax on the following services through them. तो दो सर्विसेज ई-कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर्स में शिफ्ट हो गई हैं. फर्स्ट इज ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ पैसेंजर्स बाय एनी टाइप ऑफ मोटर व्हीकल. यानी अगर वो ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ पैसेंजर्स कर रहे हैं बाय एनी टाइप ऑफ मोटर व्हीकल, दैट विल बी इन दैट केस द टैक्स विल बी पेड बाय द ई-कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर. अगर हम पहले देखें तो पहले क्या था, अर्लियर ओनली सर्विसेज ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ पैसेंजर्स प्रोवाइडेड बाय रेडियो टैक्सी, मोटर कैब, मैक्सी कैब, मोटरसाइकिल were covered under section 9 subsection 5, wherein the person liable to pay taxes was the e-commerce operator. The second is restaurant service with some exceptions. तो exception क्या होंगी ये अभी इन्होंने जो है प्रेस रिलीज में बताई नहीं है, and it will be brought under this with effect from 1st January 2022, and they are saying with a few exceptions, GST would be liable on e-commerce food delivery operator like Zomato, Swiggy, etc., and not restaurant delivering such delivering through them. Meaning thereby, जो Swiggy services दे रहे हैं रेस्टोरेंट को, जो फूड एग्रीगेटर है बेसिकली Swiggy etc., will be liable to pay tax, not the restaurant. So sir, in my view, there should not be any impact in this case. Reason being, जो ऑलरेडी जो रेस्टोरेंट फूड सप्लाई कर रहा है थ्रू स्विगी, दे आर लायबल टू टेक कंपल्सरी रजिस्ट्रेशन अंडर जीएसटी लॉ, बिकॉज दे आर सप्लाइंग द फूड थ्रू basically e-commerce operator and food aggregators, so they are compulsory required to register. Now this Swiggy has been made liable to pay GST on the supplies which has been made through Swiggy. So I think there is just a shifting of liability from restaurant to Swiggy, and maybe the government want to ensure the proper collection of taxes. Now let us see the COVID-19 relief measures in the form of GST rate concessions. GST Council has proposed the extension of existing concession rates. जो currently उन्होंने existing concession दी हुई है GST rates में, जो हमारी 30 September 2021 तक applicable थी. They have extended those concessions up to 31st December 2021. Further, the GST Council has also proposed to reduce the rate of 5% on certain other COVID-19 treatment drugs, and it is also proposed up to 31st December 2021. Then proposed changes in GST rate on goods changes and clarifications. So these are this table shows the changes which the GST Council has proposed in case of goods, and these changes will be effective from 1st October 2021 unless otherwise stated. So you can just go through the table, like it contain the good retrofitment kits, fortified rice, medicine, etc., biodiesel supply to OMCs. So we need to check if some of our goods fall into these category. So definitely we need to apply the new rate. So this is again the table which contain the change in rates. You can just go through. I'll be sharing the PPT so you can go through later on also. And although specific notification would have to be issued by the CBIC to give effect to these changes, because this is just given in the press release which have no legal force. Now let us come to clarification in relation to GST rate on goods. तो क्या क्या उन्होंने clarification, अभी हमने डिस्कस करा था changes in GST rate on goods, अब हम कर रहे हैं clarifications. तो GST काउंसिल ने काफी सारी clarification भी प्रपोज करी है. उन्होंने कहा है the carbonated fruit beverage of fruit drink and carbonated beverage of fruit with fruit juice will be taxable at the GST rate of 20% plus compensation cess of 12%. तो ये एक बहुत ही बड़ा लिटिगेशन वाला मुद्दा है. इस पे काफी सारी एडवांस रूलिंग भी आई और डिपार्टमेंट ने इसके चक्कर में काफी सारे नोटिस भी काफी सारे एसएससीज को दिए कि डिपार्टमेंट हमेशा इसको कंटेन करता रहा कि इस पे जो जीएसटी रेट है वो 28% है प्लस 12% सेस है, बट देयर इज अ डाइवर्जेंट प्रैक्टिस विच इज बीइंग carried on across the industry. Some people are charging 12%, some people are charging 18%, and some people are charging 28% plus 12% cess. Now they are coming out with a clarification. Now the question which is coming to my mind is, it is not a change, it is a clarification. If it is a clarification, then this rate of 28 plus 12 should apply retrospectively. मीनिंग देयर बाय कि यही रेट पहले से था, जो कि ये क्लैरिफिकेशन है, तो व्हाट विल हैपन टू द कंपनीज हु हैव चार्ज द लेस रेट ऑफ जीएसटी. तो एनीवे द एग्जैक्ट डिटेल्स विल बी नोन ओनली व्हेन द फाइनल नोटिफिकेशन इज आउट. बट विद दिस चेंज, if a drink is carbonated and contain any percentage of fruit juice or fruit pulp content, it may get classified under the higher rate of GST 28% and compensation cess of 12%. So it is very serious clarification, and it needs to be properly analyzed. Then another clarification is with respect to electronic sector, and they say external batteries sold along with UPS system oblique inverter will attract GST rate applicable on batteries, that is 28%. However, the UPS and inverter sold independently will attract 18%. तो इसमें अलग अलग रेट लग रहे हैं. Then another clarification is with respect to energy sector, and here they say GST on specified renewable energy project to be paid on in the ratio of 70-30 for goods and services respectively for the period between 1st July 2017 to 31st December 2018 in a similar manner as was prescribed for period on or after 1st January 2019. Meaning thereby जो 1st July 2017 से लेकर 31st December 2018 तक का पीरियड था, उसमें भी इन्होंने 70-30 की रेशियो वाले जो क्लैरिफिकेशन की they have applied. Now they have also issued some clarification with respect to edibles sector, like scented oblique flavored supari or elaichi. They are saying it will fall under 2106 and attract 18%. So again, friends, we have to see it is a clarification, it is not an amendment. So we need to see कि अगर जैसे DS group है, DS group में जो उनकी scented supari आती है, what rate of GST they are charging. If they are charging suppose 12%, and they are saying it should attract 18%, so what is going to happen for a previous period कि भी उस पे तो हमने 12% चेक चार्ज करा और कस्टमर हमें दोबारा से देगा भी नहीं. So I think lot of litigation is going to happen in this. Then tamarind seeds will attract 5% GST rate when used other than sowing, and if it is used for sowing, then it is exempted. So like this, so many clarification they have issued. So due to paucity of time, I am not going too much into this. Like in case of oil and gas sector, they said the requirement to take essentiality certificate issued by Director General of Hydrocarbons has been eradicated for interstate stock transfer each time. तो पहले क्या हो रहा होता है, जितनी बार भी आप interstate stock transfer करते थे, आप एक essentiality certificate लेते थे. तो उन्होंने कहा कि interstate stock transfer जितनी बार करेंगे उसमें आपको लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर आपने एक बार ले लिया है at the time of import, then that will be sufficient compliance. Then there are miscellaneous clarifications also with regard to pure henna and other goods. So you can just go through the presentation. Then let us come to the other recommendations. Reverse charge. Supply of mentha oil from unregistered person has been brought under reverse charge. अगर आप mentha oil किसी से ले रहे हैं from unregistered person, in that case the registered person would be required to pay tax under reverse charge. Then export of mentha oil only through LUT. तो अगर हमें सबको पता है कि एक्सपोर्ट करने के हमारे पास दो तरीके होते हैं, एक तो विदाउट पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स अंडर लेटर ऑफ क्रेडिट, तो लेटर ऑफ अंडरटेकिंग, और विद पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स. तो मेंथा ऑयल के केस में इन्होंने कह दिया कि अगर आपको एक्सपोर्ट करना है तो डेट कैन बी मेड ओनली अगेंस्ट LUT एंड यू हैव टू कैन क्लेम द कंसिक्वेंशियल रिफंड ऑफ इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. मीनिंग देयर पे अगर आप मेंथा ऑयल एक्सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं विद पेमेंट ऑफ IGST, you cannot do that. Then they have proposed certain changes in composition, and they say bricklins would be brought under special composition scheme with threshold limit of 20 lakhs. तो जो ईट के बट्टे हैं वो स्पेशल कंपोजिशन स्कीम में लाए जाएंगे और उसकी स्पेशल लिमिट दी जाएगी विच इज 20 लाख विद इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 1st August 2022. And BRICS would attract GST at the rate of 6% without ITC under this scheme. मतलब 6% का रेट लगेगा कंपोजिशन में and GST rate of 12% with ITC would otherwise apply to BRICS. अगर वो नॉर्मल में है कंपोजिशन में नहीं है तो 12% देना पड़ेगा और अगर वो कंपोजिशन में आते हैं तो उनको 6% विदाउट ITC देना पड़ेगा. Now let us come to the proposals which are kept for future GST Council meetings. First is correction of inverted duty structure in footwear and textile sector. जैसा कि हम लोगों को पता ही है inverted duty structure footwear और textile sector में exist करता है and there lot of study is going on and the committee was also formed to analyze the inverted duty structure in this sector. So again in this meeting they have discussed it and they said it will be implemented with effect from 1st January 2022. The another is issue of whether petroleum products should be brought within the ambit of GST. So this matter was also discussed in the GST Council meeting and they said that this is not the appropriate time to discuss this issue and they will be discussing this issue in future. So friend, thanks a lot for the patient hearing. Now hand over to Pranjal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful deliberation. I am sure the discussion will have great value for all the participants. Now I invite CA Dheeraj Batra for the next part of our webinar, that is GST compliance actionable.
Dheeraj, you can share the screen.
Yes.
Dheeraj, your screen is not visible. Now it is visible. Slide show करो.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Slide show कर दो.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Pranjali. I hope my voice is visible to all of you and my presentation is visible to all of you and my voice is audible to all of you. So friends, so basically friends, I will cover the major compliance actionable for September 2021 next 2 to 3 slides. So starting with first point, the first point is availment of ITC for financial year 2021. As you all know that as per section 16 subsection 4 requirement, the last date for availment of ITC with respect to financial year 2021 is the due date of filing GSTR 3B for the month of September 21. That will be fall on 20th of October 2021. So we have to keep in mind this thing while preparing the GSTR 3B for the September month, so that we can take all the ITC for financial year 2021, so that no ITC will be missed out. Otherwise, it will be left after the September GSTR 3B of 2021. So the next point is GSTR 2A reconciliation of financial year 2021. As you all know that there are more than 1 year has been lapsed since the implementation of GSTR 2A. So we have preparing GSTR 2A. Many of the clients are preparing on monthly basis, but we have to prepare 2A reconciliation on annual basis as well. Because as you all know, GSTR 2A is a dynamic. It will kept on changes according to the changes made by the supplier in his GSTR 1 returns. But while preparing GSTR 2A reconciliation, we have to keep 2 or 3 points that I have observed during the GST audit of many clients. Just like there are many types of invoices which are generally not in our purchase register because we does not take ITC because we does not receive any physical invoice. Like in many cases, bank have charged GST on all the service and service charges that bank have charged. For that, bank mostly give advice, but many times bank does not issue advice for small charges. So we can take this amount from GST at 2A, so that we can also take ITC. We cannot miss it out. For further, we also have to keep in mind one more thing. Nowadays, it has been observed that in many cases in GST 2A, the supplier has filed his GST 1, but he does not file his GST 3B. If you see section 16 says that you can only take ITC when the tax is deposited to the government also. So we have to keep in mind while preparing GST 2, we also have to check whether the supplier has filed his countable GST 3B also. So these are the two, three points that we have to keep in mind while preparing GST 2 reconciliation. Further, one more point, we also have to find out the ITC which is reflected in our purchase register but not reflected in our GST 2A. We have to follow up with the supplier for that thing so that they can file the that missing invoice in their GST 1 so that we can claim in the September GST 3B. Otherwise, it will be left after September 21. Next point is reversal of ITC as per Rule 37. As you all know, as per Rule 37, so recipient have to make a payment to the supplier within 180 days from the date of issue of the invoice. In case the recipient does not make any payment to the supplier within 180 days from the issue of invoice and he take the input tax credit for that invoice, then the recipient have to reverse the ITC that he has taken along with the interest at the rate of 18% that is prescribed under section 50 subsection 1 of CGST Act. So we have to check the creditor aging for that thing, and we have to take the creditor aging on 30th September so that we can comply this provision as well. Next point is actualization of apportionment of ITC as per Rule 42 and 43 in case of exempt supplies. As you all know, if we are using our inputs and capital goods for making our outward supply both as a taxable as well as exempt supply, then proportionately with respect to exempt outward supply, we have to reverse the ITC. So accordingly, we have prepared monthly reversal calculation while filing our GST 3B in 2021. But we also have to make a final or annual 42-43 reversal calculation so that we will find out in case if there is an excess ITC availment, we can reverse it along with interest. If in case if there is a less ITC available, we can claim that ITC in upcoming GST 3B, because after that it will be lapse. The next point is amendment in GST 1 for financial year 2021. Friends, as per first provisor to subsection 3 of section 37, in case if there is any rectification of error or omission in the detail prescribed, detail mentioned or prescribed in the GST 1 or 3B for the financial year 2021, if there is any error, we can make amendment for such errors in the GST 3B of September. After that, we cannot make any amendment for that period also. Next point is reconciliation of outward supply between books of account and return for financial year 2021. Friends, we also have to prepare the reconciliation with our books of account and the GST 1 and 3B returns. Why we need this reconciliation? Because many times we have observed that while preparing a reconciliation, we have found many transactions on which GST is missed. Basically, GST will not be GST not charged by the ODT. Suppose I also give you some types of example for that. For example, in case if the company receive interest from the customer on the delay payment, many times it is observed that the client is forget to charge GST on that thing. So we can find these types of thing from the reconciliation and charge the GST on that thing. But we also have to keep in mind that we can find out these types of transaction in September so that the recipient can claim the ITC in September as well, because otherwise after that it will be lapse for the recipient also. Next point is cross charge compliance. So basically cross charge, as we all know that this term is not defined in GST law. But if we read the schedule 1 read with section 25, cross charge means if there is a more than one registration on one PAN. So basically indirectly or indirectly, one unit is providing service to other units. For that thing, if you missed out the cross charge invoice for financial year 2021, you have to raise a cross charge invoice, and counterly recipient should also take the credit so that before September he can take the credit, otherwise it will be lapsed after the financial year 2021.